Do we have it in this picture? We have to squat down to get the shot right. Chris H from the YouTube, I think it was Chris, asked me to do a little show and tell of the bikes in the shop. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's start on this end. My son Garrett's PW80, although he's now 25 and doesn't fit on it as well anymore. It's still a great pit bike. This is bodywork for the Land Speed bike. It runs in a unfaired class like you've seen in the other videos without the bodywork on it, and then it has the bodywork on it. So this whole Speed of Cheese thing comes from this. It has nothing to do with cheese. It has nothing to do with Wisconsin. It's just silliness. So after I painted this, my buddy, the Tonus, who does the Hand Over the Hero series, if you're into the Comic-Con, that whole place, he's an artist, and I asked him to decorate it once I was done painting it, and it's paint splotches with, and some of the paint splotches are characters. This one happens to be my logo, which was redone, but the same kind of, determined, forceful, facing all of the obstacles in the world. That's the way I at least like to think that I am. Anyway, so coming back to this, the guys at work found a picture of me sitting out on the salt flats on the internet somewhere, and I got photocopied into a black and white photo. Well, with the spots in black and white, it looks like a Holstein cow, so they photoshopped me on a cow and plastered it all over the shop. Made copies and plastered it, put it under my windshield wipers, the whole 9 yards. Somebody wrote something about the Speed of Cheese, and speed is something, and I thought it was funny, so I adopted that. And it kind of is telling to what I think of motorcycles. I think that we take motorcycles way too serious. We live in the US. Motorcycles aren't necessary. I mean, if we lived in Singapore or something and we had no parking and you needed a scooter, then it would be a different story. But we live in the US. For the most part, they're total pleasure, and we take all of it too serious. The safety is too serious. Maybe it's because I'm older, but enough of the AGAT crap. Let's just have fun. Let's just make it all silly. Speed of Cheese, it's silly, right? Stupid non sequitur. So anyway, this is probably not the most efficient fairing. It was, I think, originally designed for a Harley, and I cut about 8 inches out of the middle of it, squished it up to work on the little RD. But it's okay, and it picks up. It's good for about 15 miles an hour. And so if I can get that thing to run right this year, and everything's good, and I'll set the record without the fairing, I'll throw the fairing on, and then we'll bump that record too. This is the Gsxr 750 that I share with the Cookie Monster. I didn't do one single track day this year though, which is kind of left me with a little bit of a hole in my heart and my soul. Because although I'm a land speed racer, I really like going around the corners. That's the thrill. So yeah, and before anybody says, "Oh, none of that shit runs," I'm just gonna. We got maybe a 50% run rate going on here, so if it'll start, just enough battery, just enough. Okay, let's move on to the Ducati. So this is my long distance ride. Ducati St4, which is, I swear, one of the greatest bikes ever built. It does everything well. I mean, it's all day long comfort and still fun in the twisties, and it's got the hard bags. I mean, this thing is just a terrific motorcycle. I did make some risers that go up an inch and back an inch, just because, and I can't really sometimes understand how Italians, which Italians for the most part are short and whatever, maybe they have super long bodies, I don't know, but they had the reach to the bars was a long way. But after I did that, it made it way more comfortable. It's just really been a lot of fun. I maybe put, I don't know, 35,000 miles on it in the past couple of years. So it's really been great. The valve adjusting, which I always heard was such a huge nightmare, is really not that big a deal. It takes a little bit of patience and some time. I think if I was going to do it again, I'd just pull the heads off. I think would just be about as easy as anything. All of this stuff is so simple. I mean, you got all the body work, but once it's all apart, you know, like the Gsxr, that stuff is packed in there pretty close. I mean, it takes some real nimble fingers. The Ducati is all just really nicely laid out. It's not difficult at all, and it sounds good. I mean, you've got to love, you know, 93 feet. That's good, right? God, that had enough battery too. And then I've got the little RD 350, which I built probably, maybe 18 years ago. And it was just the cafe bike that I wanted to build for years and years. You know, and this was, you know, I know everybody comes up in different worlds of the custom motorcycle thing. And for me it was, you know, GP racing, and then, you know, as a kid we would go to Southern California, say Winter National drag racing, and all those guys, you know, and I was this impressionable, you know, 8-year-old kid, and these guys running around with their, you know, Kawasaki H1s and their RDs all over the beaches, you know, built beach communities, and I was mesmerized by this, and it's been ingrained in my head. So, you know, I built this. I mean, I built a lot of bikes in my life, but this one just kind of has a special place. I just really liked it. It's a little bit garish with the white wheels, and I kind of it just makes me happy. I put the 400, originally I built it with just as modified as I could 350 engine, and it ran pretty good. I mean, I don't, you know, it was my limit of my knowledge at the time. It now has one of the old land speed air-cooled engines in it. I mean, it's the same case, but I put a 400 crank and top end on it. So now, if you'll notice, it has a steering dampener, because the first time I went out and rode it with this engine, it sort of made the front wheel kind of obsolete. You know, it's more of a unicycle at that point, with, you know, more of a training wheel up front is what I'd like to say. But it's a hoot to ride. We're not going to start that because I pulled the carburetors off to run on the land speed bike earlier this year, and I haven't put them back on. But that's another winter project. Let's put that on the list. I have some fond memories of some of the stuff on this. Like, if you want to see some cool rear sets, let me zoom in on this. Check these out. Oh yeah. Yeah, do we have some focus? How about focus? Actually, part of that one brace is still, I think, a Moto Carrera, but the rest I made. And the instrument cluster was done with the Trail Tech before Trail Tech made, you know, the cool ones they do now with everything on them. This was just for I think a mountain bike or whatever. And then the tack was a kit that I bought that we had me and my son sat downstairs and soldered all the little diodes and everything on. I can't remember if it works. Seems like it lights up, but it isn't very accurate. But anyway, it's gonna stay because I have fond memories of it, and that's the part of the bike building that makes us happy. So how about some focus, you fuck? Over here we got Boltaco Sherpa T. which there's something about Bultacos that just, I think they're quirky and cool as hell. And of course they're a two-stroke, so you gotta love that. And I had one, in my youth I had a Sherpa T. So I bought this, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and it mostly just sits. And I honestly haven't done a thing with it. And it really needs some carburetor tuning, but you know, I putt around the airport here every once in a while just for fun. It has a Massey Ferguson or some tractor gas cap. For some reason, I've ordered a couple of gas caps and they always seem to have the wrong thread, so I haven't quite figured out. This is $199, so it's a late model. I think in '89 is when they made these. But anyway, let's see if this thing will fire up. It hasn't started in about 6 months. And of course, what I mean quirky is, you know, the Kickstarter's on the wrong side. You know, it's got the shift shaft comes all the way through, so you can put the shifter on the right or the left side. They're just quirky. All right, maybe we shouldn't try to asphyxiate ourselves with two-stroke. I mean, I think that going down, dying of castor bean oil might be an okay death. I don't know, as far as, you know, deaths go. You know, like a wingsuit might be a pretty spectacular death, and certainly, you know, going out racing, doing what you love, that would, I think, right be up there at the top. But maybe castor bean oil death ranks lower. I don't know, but it's got to be pretty good. And then I've got a little old DT 250 over here. We're not going to start that either, but it does run. I don't think it's got a 6-volt battery, and it seems like my 6-volt battery charger died. And then I have a little, everything's a little, I love little bikes. Big bikes are nonsense. And this is a RD400. Let's get some focus going, maybe. Can you see that? Should we take this off the tripod? And this is an Arma bike, is the idea. And you know, it's got a fresh engine in it, and it needs a weekend's worth of work to get everything working on it. And I say I'm going to run the Arma race at Miller every year, which is the end of August. And I'm always in the middle of land speed racing, and I never get a chance to get this done. I really should spend the time in the winter when I have time and get it all ready, so then when it comes around, I don't have a million things to do. Hold on, we got somebody here. So, I was delivered a phone book. When was the last time you used a phone book? Why do they still print this stuff? That's, you know, I mean, you can't find a phone booth. What? I don't understand some medieval thinking. But anyway, so, where was I? I can't remember. Running this at the Arma race. So, this year, my buddy Kenny Cummins of Norton fame, I went out and hung out with him for the day, so I'm now kind of all excited to run it for next year. So we'll spend some time on that this year. And this is my little buddy, another RD400. I haven't done a thing with this other than tuning the carburetors. My buddy, his name is Buddy, and he's my buddy. Buddy Markley built this, and I've just enjoyed the piss out of it. It goes with me everywhere. I mean, I did Tail of the Dragon last year, and what's that other road? highway, Cherokee Highway or whatever. I mean, I blasted all of these roads all last summer on this thing. I just throw it in the back of the truck anytime I travel, and it's just light and it always runs. Of course, I probably will try and fire it up and it won't run today, but let's try that. But it's a peaky, just fun little motorcycle, and we're out of room here. How about let's buy us an inch? That's all I'm asking, is an inch. And we got some neutral, we got some just such a terrific bike. It really is. Fuel off. I love this little thing. I don't know how many miles I've put on this thing in the past year, but it's really the fun goof-off bike. We got some more two-stroke smoke going on. Yeah. Okay, let's check out the Voltaco here. You probably have seen this if you are into bikes much. This has been on Bike XF and Pipeburn. But this I built spring. I guess I finished it in spring. And it was just it was just one of those things I had in the back of my head. I wanted to incorporate a rear mount, engine mount, swing arm pivot in a piece, an aluminum frame, and of course it's a Voltaco engine, which I already told you that I love. Everything other than, am I even making any sense? I'm just stuttering. Somebody needs to edit these videos. I used the rear hub. I bought a whole bike. I mean, it was very rough. The engine was all locked up. But I bought the whole bike. It was an Alpina model, which is their motocross bike at the time. So I used the rear hub and the engine out of it. And then the front forks were off of a Gsxr drag bike, I think. I can't remember. It's one of those projects that has been laying around, you know, like the bikes that are in the shop next door, you know, that are all kind of ugly, that you buy just for when you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize you need a turbocharged dual engine drag bike for some reason. Well, you've got to have the base for that, and so the forks were just laying around. And then Moto Guzzi Eldorado front wheel, and I think that's about it. You know, everything else I made, I fabricated. The tank was just a sheet of aluminum. I did buy the tail and the fairing, which are fiberglass. And it's just got a goofy two-tone paint job, just because I'd never seen anybody do it. And I think the gray and deep red are just classic, elegant, beautiful colors. So, you know, it's one bike on the way to the titty bar and one bike on the way home, right? And we're not going to start this because I've drained the fuel out of it. And it's a bitch to start anyway. Yeah, it needs some special tickling love, bum tickle to get it to run right. It uses an Ignitec ignition, and it just needs to spin just fast enough to get the ignition to fire off. So anyway, are we still recording? We have some focus? Okay. Let's go over here, and then I'm just getting ready I'm going to leave in the morning for El Mirage. So we have a 2-day meet for the land speed bike, which you've seen. There's really nothing else to share about this. I'm pretty much ready to go. I've just got to pack the stuff up, throw this in the back of the truck, and we're going to be out of here.
Then we have over here, we've got, oh yeah, turbo bike extraordinaire, right? So in the 80s, all of the manufacturers, or the Japanese, for the Japanese manufacturers, built turbo bikes. They found out that turbochargers and the general public, which I'm a general public, but I went right into that, into a general public song, and I don't know why my brain works that way. Being an 80s new wave kid, I guess, really more punk rocker, but that's okay. I'm just rambling at this point, aren't I?
So Kawasaki made this turbo bike, which was, I think, was the only decent looking turbo bike.
Let me adjust this up. That's better.
So Kawasaki was the only one who made a decent looking turbo bike. And they were pretty fast. I mean, you know, everything was fast in its time, but certainly pretty quick. It was, I don't know, it was like an 11-second quarter-mile bike. Maybe it was 10, I don't know, but it was still fairly fast. I'm not really sure what the hell the deal is with this gigantic rear sprocket. It's always been kind of a mystery to me. I'm sure there's somebody who knows these bikes better than I do. But, you know, like Yamaha's Seika was futuristic and kind of weird looking, and the Honda was awful. They used the CX, that V-twin, and they were just ugly as hell. And the Suzuki was just kind of an eyesore, but this was always beautiful. Now, obviously, this needs a massive restoration, which I don't know when the hell I'm going to get to it. But it's, you know, it's one of those, the dream bike that I couldn't have in high school. So it's, and my buddy Justin, his dad bought that brand new. It took me years to talk him out of it. His father, unfortunately, has passed away, and it was just kind of rotting away. So he finally let me take it, and we'll restore it one of these days. And I'm kind of excited about doing this. And then sitting over here is, whoa, tripod error, tripod problems and feet. That's an electric engine. This was on Purdue University's land speed bike, and they're going to let me put it in my next concept bike. So, and I think, so that one's got a record. That motor itself, let's make sure we get our terminology. This is an engine, this is a motor. Whatever. It's got a record at 115, I think. Anyway, so it makes, I think it's 48 kilowatts. Maybe it's 38 kilowatts, and that's, what the hell's a kilowatt? I can't even remember. What's 0.748 is a kilowatt to horsepower? Holy shit, I can't compute this in my head. Come on, give me a break. I'm a two-stroke guy. Anyway, and then the controller. And so that is going on. Oh, we got an M30 turbocharged BMW M30 engine. Ooh. How about some focus? Focus, focus. That's going in an E21 Group 5 car that I'll probably never build. I got all the pieces, I just need the time. And then these are, this is the next bike I'm building, which is, these will be carbon, this is a mold of course, and this will be carbon fiber, and then the two halves will be put together. And then you'll have to see, it's going to be really weird, very goofy kind of bike, but I think it's going to be cool as hell. It's going to be electric powered, electric steering, there's some really unusual stuff. And this is, you know, another thing that I have to do. And then up here we have an airplane. Oh yeah, yeah, because everybody needs an experimental airplane. The wings are up there, so obviously it needs a little bit of love, and that's what we're here for. We're here to give Mechanical things love. That's what we represent to the world. But the airplane is a Long-EZ, which is was designed by Bert Rutan, and so it has a big wing in back, and it has the engine in back, and it's a pusher, and then it has a little canard, which canard means duck in French. I hope I'm getting half of this right. I'm not really an airplane. I don't have a pilot's license. I just think I need a experimental airplane. So I'm thinking turbocharged Mazda rotary. You know, that ought to be good for 300 horsepower. That ought to chooch that thing about 250 miles an hour, maybe. I mean, with a 115 horsepower, you know, and all those airplane guys, they have to have Lycomings or Continentals, and they're pretty conservative fellas. You know, and there's the whole falling out of the sky thing. So maybe they've got a legit concern about that. I'm more of a hot rodder and not as focused on staying alive. Not that I want to die, but I certainly want to push that element so I know that I'm alive. So I'm thinking, yeah, let's get that thing to move pretty quick. There's a guy that's got a small block Ford in his, and I mean, he's flown it for like 10 years. That guy, you know, if he can do it, I can do it, right? I think that's got to cover most of the stuff. So, have a great day. Wish me luck in going fast. I think I got the fueling sorted out, so we're gonna see what we can do this weekend. Okay, thanks for watching.
Maybe you want to cover some of the hardware in the shop. Let's get some focus. This is a little Hyundai. Oh, look at the logo right here. Yeah, we put that on everything. Little Speedy Cheese logo. How about some focus? Doesn't focus that close? I don't know. This has been a wonderful little lathe. It just absolutely needed nothing. We need to set up and finish up. What is it doing with the thing? Is that the light? We've got piston pieces that we've talked about before. I need to finish this stuff up, but I've had so much other work. Oh, look at these. How about those triple clamps? That's for my buddy who hopefully doesn't hate me because I'm so late on it. And then over here, let's look at in here. We're making connecting rod caps. No, we're not. These are Jack Daddy. If you know anything about those Razor scooter side-by-sides, this is the cage mount for the Jack Daddy. Come on, how about some focus? That's it. That's what we're working on over there. And over here, we have another little Miltronics mill. I love Miltronics mills. And we just finished the body portion of those. Oh yeah, how about this? So these, of course, still don't have the drilled and tapped holes in them. But the caps, what's with the lines in the thing? Fucker, stop doing that. I don't know why it's got the lines. Anyway, that's it. And we've got a little project for my buddy Sam, who he works, if you guys watch the Diesel Brothers TV show, he just finished a really cool diesel bike for them. But this is for his next project, so watch those guys. I think they're on Discovery or Velocity or something. Anyway, and then we have a big drill press. Okay, why? My focus on this camera sucks balls. And the engine dyno. Let's move this trash can out of the way. So, the way my dyno works is my engine sits in here, right? And there's videos of this running, so you can see that. And then it has a chain that runs from this jack shaft up and then through the sprocket, which is here. And it spins this big 712-pound flywheel. and it has a little magnet embedded in the wheel and a little coil pickup, and the software determines that to spin that mass, and I had to figure out the moment of inertia of all of this stuff. To spin that mass that fast, it makes a certain amount of horsepower and a certain amount of torque. And then it has a disc brake on it. This is quite the exciting thing when that wheel is spinning at like 3,000 RPM. The ground shakes. I don't know what kind of energy is stored in 712 pounds of steel mass at 3,000 RPM, but my guess is if it comes apart, it would take a mile and walls, many walls, to probably slow it down. So it gets a little bit sketchy. Then we have this sweet Chinese lathe, which is one of those projects that I end up using this all the time. My buddy Craig Rodsmith, he says that's the chuck key holder. So we're gonna leave that, the chuck key and the chuck key holder. That's the way we do it around here. And I think that's just about it. And then we're back around to the shop. Oh, we did cover the BMW. How about the BMW? Woo! So that usually sits here in the floor. Of course, it's not here because it is at the Petersen Automotive Museum. If you're ever in LA, the museum is just incredible. I had never been there. They invited the Custom Revolution motorcycle display is on the second floor, but they invited 25 builders from all over the world, and I'm so honored that they would invite the BMW Alpha bike. But it's called the Custom Revolution. It's in the Petersen Automotive Museum in downtown, not downtown, it's just west of downtown on Wilshire Boulevard. It's spectacular. They had a Porsche display when I was there that just like the first Porsche ever made, Dr. Ferry ever put together, and I mean, and then all the iconic, the 917s, and of course the turbos, and all these just incredible things. So if you get a chance, go see it, and go see the Alpha bike. And I think that's it. I think we've covered the shop. The shop tour is over for today. So thank you for watching and have a great day.